Alright, so I'm going to just kind of break down into member roles and exactly how they attribute or contribute to the ecosystem, which is going to be an online community. Sorry about that. Alright, so as you all know, lurkers are obviously going to be the largest part of any online community. It's just an unfortunate part, but that doesn't mean you should try to change what they are. There's a reason why they're lurkers, and it is kind of your job to make sure that they're happy and they're consuming your content, and I'll kind of break down exactly why in just a second. So this is where I'm going to throw in the memes and give you a little bit of my perspective on each member role in the ecosystem. So the first we'll go into a passive lurker. As community manager, we're not really happy with passive lurkers. But that doesn't mean you want to go and try to throw badges or other random little engagement tactics in there. Based on a study that I did myself and various other collegiate sources, doing this sort of things, it just does not appeal to people. If it's a secondary thing and people get it, sure, that's great. But people aren't checking the Foursquare 100 times a day just so they can get badges. The novelty of the things, they wear off pretty quickly. So to define what a passive lurker is, these are the members who continue to return to a community or occasionally are new to the community, and they consume your content, the content in the discussions, or advice from other members, but they don't contribute or share any of it. So the best way I can explain it is the forever alone guy. He just goes there, he does his thing, and then he leaves. He's alone. Right? So moving on, we're going to go to actually one of the largest part of an online community and one of the most important aspects. A lot of community managers will actually shove this off. They'll say lurkers are worthless, they're just there, we're going to try novel approaches, and that's their thing. However, of the members in an online community, active lurkers will make up a vast portion of them. Based on Ben McConnell's 99-1 principle, for every one post a power user makes in a community, 90 lurkers will have consumed the content and not contributed anything in the community. However, active lurkers consume community content and also share the content to their personal networks and external communities. When active lurkers share the content externally, that becomes detrimental to your ecosystem, and obviously that is a huge part of growing your community. So marketing, ads, all that stuff, that's not going to be your key to community growth. Those active lurkers will be. So I'm unfortunately using Nyan Cat here, which is spewing his rainbow and your content all over the place. That's just what they do. They're happy, they love it, they share it, but they're just not motivated to share or contribute specifically on your site. And there's a lot of different reasons, but I'll kind of go into that to the very last session because it's going to get all sorts complicated, require a lot of history. Then we go into a different session, and then communication theory as well. So moving on, troll, we already went into that. Obviously, as community manager, you want to watch them. You want to make sure that they're not distracting or bothering too many of your members. If you have to, you can block them, mark them as spam. It just depends what your tools will allow. All right. So general members, these members appear to do a majority of the grunt work for online communities, but this is partially correct now that social media is being used throughout the world. Prior to the adoption of social media, most communities were self-contained or vaguely spread through word of mouth and chat rooms. These members actively comment on articles, discussions, and external communities, but not as frequently as a power user, which I'll go into in just a minute. So what that means is this is going to be the general mass. These are the people who sort of get the community, they sort of observe and know how to use all the tools, and they sort of understand the different kinds of communication that are commonly associated or known as the social norms. Okay, so advanced members, these are the folks that are not quite power users, so they're not contributing the most to the online community. However, they are pretty detrimental as well. They know the social norms. So, for example, on Reddit, there's tons of inside jokes and uses of memes, all that sort of thing. The folks that probably are sitting at the top of the comments, they receive ridiculous amounts of karma. Those are more lines of the advanced members. Now, I'm not going to point out particular users who act as power users, but a lot of them end up being like novelty accounts, like the guy who likes to draw your comments and that sort of thing. These are the people who really knock out the community. They're influential, and people immediately recognize who they are. So a power user, these are the people who push for new discussions. They shout on rooftops about how much they enjoy your community, or in some cases your brand or your product. They provide feedback to the community managers and almost act as mini community managers themselves. Power users make up about 1% of the community, and obviously that was based on the principle that I had mentioned before. Okay, so we pretty much broke down the basics to what an online community manager is, what involves in online communities. So I can go ahead and take some of your questions. I've got the basic list of what we're going to be going over in the next sessions. Again, you don't obviously have to attend them live. If you sign up to the thing or you've signed up to the Eventbrite one before, I'm going to go ahead and send everyone recap emails anyways. But I would suggest you tune in on January 26th because Eric Martin will be here taking questions. I'm not sure if we're going to do a presentation with him, but he will be on hand, and he's going to, obviously he's got quite a load compared to what most community managers have to deal with. And then on February 2nd, I've got GovLoop's community manager, or one of the community managers from there, and they're going to be talking about monitoring, tracking, and analytics as well. But before I get into questions, I've got a proposed little project, which I talked about before. This is completely voluntary, but basically what I'm going to do is kind of throw you through the paces of what a community manager does. So for this, actually I probably should pull that up. Alright, as you can see here, we have a brand new subreddit, which is CMGR, or short, that would be Community Manager. What you can see here is a brand new start to an online community, and if you'd like, we can throw you in. Just send me a message and I'll make you a moderator. And I'm going to kind of throw in for the next week random things that look like spam. All you have to do is mark it as spam, and then I'm going to use the moderation log to kind of mark off to see who's doing that. And then I'll have some additional stuff as well to throw into it, and kind of basically give you some more hands-on training for what a community manager does. And if you'd want as well, you can go and find a new community and observe how users are commonly interacting. So that's going to kind of lead into what we're going to talk about next week. But the main subject of next week is going to be online community tools, and open source tools, and the various things that you can use to either track and that sort of thing. I'm not going to get into great detail about analytics, so we have an additional session for that. But yeah, so again, yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to throw any my way. And then, oh, apologize, it looks like we do have a question. Wizard Mask, if you're still on there, can you go in a little bit more detail about what you meant when I said detrimental would be bad? Okay, so one of the questions was, as an internal community manager, how would you deal with a fan-made community such as Prius Chat? So I'm not sure if any of you are gamers, but I'm going to use this as a pretty solid example that you can look at. If you go to Reddit's subreddit for Battlefield 3, you'll see that there's a community manager in there who is quite active in a lot of different communities. I don't remember his full username, but it's Crash something. So what they do, they create portals of information, which acts like fan page, and they provide specific information that kind of hits these communities before it hits news. Now, obviously, you don't want to make it where you're not, I guess, sharing exclusive content to press, but to make those communities a little bit happier, to get them some inside knowledge, you work with them, you allow people to report information or errors specifically to you. Actually, I might as well just pull that up while we're at it, if it loads. Okay, well, unfortunately, his is not at the top, but basically what he would do is come to the subreddit, and when there's an issue, or they just launched the game, or they just launched an update, they would ask all the people here to post any comments or issues they had. So basically, you go as the cheerleader, and you report information back and forth, but you have more than one community that you essentially manage, but it's more publicly or open management. All right, sorry. So going back to Wizard Mask, he said certain classes of members were detrimental, which literally means they hurt the community. Well, guess what? I actually used the wrong word, so I apologize for that. Probably a little bit of a result of the cough medicine that I've been chugging all day. So there is only one type of community member that actually semi-harmful, which would be the passive lurkers. It's only harmful to a community manager such as myself because your bosses, they will want to see engagement. No matter what you do, they're going to want to see engagement, and they'll want to use tactics such as the badges and all those novel approaches. But when it comes down to it, your user number isn't going to matter as much, but your engagement will. And another thing that's going to be more important to you specifically is going to be using analytics. So if you have a very large community of members such as ours who use our site for certain things but not commenting or asking questions on the community forums, what you're going to use is something like Google Analytics to see and track how much content is being read, what kind of content is being read, and the frequency that stuff is being or new people are coming and going. So it just kind of depends. But yeah, I apologize. Didn't mean to use that word improperly. But each community member should play an important role in the ecosystem, but neither of them should obviously have a harmful approach except for the troll. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to shoot them my way. Otherwise, I think I'm going to wrap this up, and you can send me a message or anything of that nature, and I'll get to that again as well. And I will be posting a recap probably in the next day or so, and then I'll probably just send that an email out to everyone that signed up. All right, folks. Well, thanks for joining. Sorry. Yeah, actually, Wizard Mask, if you have any specific questions about a member type, I can answer some now. But my last session, I don't actually know the date off the top of my head. But yeah, we will be going into what motivates each one. That part I wanted to kind of slowly go into it because it requires going into 3 different computer-mediated communication theories and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So it gets a little bit crazy over there. But if you want, I can answer any questions that you have now. But I figured I was going to kind of slow roll it into the more details that are going to be there. Okay, well, no worries, Wizard. I'm gonna send a recap, and I'm gonna have the slides and kind of write out what I was saying here anyways, because I have no idea what I was saying. Probably rambled on a little bit, but I will send that out in an email, and I'll post that into the University of Reddit group as well. But otherwise, yeah, thanks everyone for coming, and I will see you next week if you can come. I have the registration on the University of Reddit site, as well as the subreddit and my site. So pick and choose. You can find it in quite a few different places. All right, thanks again, guys.